Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Bit of a cold old morning. Winter has come early. I hope you're all doing well and cozy and warm wherever you are this morning. Still got a couple of minutes before we start. You don't need any props this morning, apart from a mat and perhaps a blanket or two. And I thought we might start in a reclined position this morning, but of course, if you prefer to stay seated, that's fine. So just take these first few moments to gather yourself, to gather what you need for your practice, to let go of what you don't need for your practice, and either remaining seated or just come to lie down with any support you might need under the back of the knees to support the lower back. So just taking these first few moments to arrive fully here in this present moment. And you might like to begin by exhaling through pursed lips 3 or 4 times. So consciously slowing down the out breath, breathing in through the nose and slowly blowing the breath out through the mouth, through pursed lips. So you're exhaling through a straw. So breathing in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Just letting everything slow down, letting the body drop, letting the mind drop, your breath flowing in and flowing out. Nothing to change or fix or achieve. Dwelling in the place between no longer and not yet. So I'd like to begin by welcoming you to our shared space this morning. We may not be together physically, but we have the wonderful opportunity to connect virtually and energetically. And I'd like to begin by inviting you to check in with yourself, to note what you have brought with you to the mat this morning. And then I invite you to become aware of the relationship you have with your body in this moment. So how do I feel about my body? What's going on inside my body this morning? How do I treat my body, nourish my body? Just observing, noticing without judgment. And I also invite you to reflect on the relationship you have with your mind, your thoughts right now. How do I view my mind? How do I tend to my mind? Where do I actually locate my mind? And feelings, do I pay attention to my feelings? Do I make room for feelings? Do I get overwhelmed at times with feelings or want to cling to certain feelings and run away from others. And what's the relationship with my breath like? Am I aware of my breath? Where do I feel the breath in my body? And with my energetic self, what we call in yoga pranamaya kosha, the aspect of ourselves that is comprised of prana, life force, subtle energy. Am I aware of the energetic layer of myself? And how do I feel about the relationship between my body, my mind, my feelings, my breath, and the life force that animates all? And how do I experience the relationship I have with the space all around me, the environment I live and breathe in, as well as the relationship I have with something larger than myself, what we call in yoga Isvara Pranidhana, or some concept of the divine, God, universal consciousness. So this morning's practice is designed around the idea that yoga is all about relationship. A relationship we have with ourselves and the different aspects or layers of ourselves, the koshas, and expanding further outward to include the relationship we have with each other, with our environment, and with something larger than ourselves. The ancient philosophy and practices of yoga are designed to deepen our capacity for connectedness. So through yoga, which literally means union, we come to understand and experience the different aspects or layers of ourselves as interconnected: body, breath, thoughts, feelings, energy. And also experience ourselves as intimately connected with all that at first seems outside of ourselves. So the earth, the sky, wind, water, trees, birds, other people. The great yogi therapist, TKV Desikachar from India, wrote, "The success of yoga does not lie in the ability to perform postures, but in how it positively changes the way we live our life and our relationships." So in a moment, we'll come up to sit if you're lying down, and we're going to chant Sahana Vavatu, which we know honors the teacher-student relationship. And then we'll begin to connect breath and movement. So if you're lying down, just start to deepen the breath, and you might stretch the arms up overhead, have a lovely stretch, and then lower the arms. You might do this a few times. If you're seated, just have a bit of a stretch. You might stretch forward or take the arms overhead, whatever feels good at this moment in time. And as we're preparing to, in a moment, come to chant, you might like to just take a moment to ask your body now, what would you like less of from me today? What would you like less of? And what would you like more of? Ask your body these questions. Now, if you're lying down, you might bring the knees into the chest and just start to rock from side to side. And in a moment, I'll put the words up of our chant, but I'd like to just share with you another beautiful translation of the meaning of this chant. This is one that I really love. May we be safe and protected here as we come together to practice and learn yoga. May our practice together be nourishing. May we practice together with great enthusiasm and presence. May our practice together bring us deeper understanding. May no obstacles arise between us. May we be free from fear. May we understand the truth that all is one. Om, peace, peace, peace. So if you haven't already come up to sit, please do so. And before I put the words of the chant up, we're just going to work with a cleansing breath, just a few rounds. This is one name for this is the waterfall breath. So we're going to take our awareness to the base of the spine. And as we breathe in, we're going to imagine the breath is flowing up the spine, up over the back of the head to the crown, little pause. And then like a waterfall, you're going to imagine the water coming over your face and then blowing the breath out through the mouth. It's like water, that waterfall pouring out of your mouth. So let's do a few more of these. So you'll inhale up your spine, up over the back of the head to the crown, a little pause, and then visualize that waterfall cascading over and down your face, and then you're blowing the breath out through the mouth. So let that breath energy cascade all around you. So let's do a couple more. Breathing in. And one more. So I've popped the words of the chant up on the screen. If you'd like to follow along, there's another translation there as well. If you know the chant, you might sit quietly with the eyes closed. So 3 rounds, finishing with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Deep breath in. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahana Bunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahana Bunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahana Bunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So So just gently folding forward, softening forward, honoring the relationship you have with Mother Earth beneath you. And then gently come up, and we're going to move into extended child pose. So coming onto all fours, and you'll extend the arms forward. You might like to try taking the knees a little bit wider apart. So often we say have the knees hip width apart here, but some of you might like to just experiment with that and see if you can take the knees mat width apart or even a little bit wider. Big toes are touching, and then you'll extend the arms forward. So once you come into position, find your breath. Long, smooth inhalation, perhaps a little pause, and a long, smooth exhalation, and perhaps a little pause. And just taking a moment also to be aware of the relationship you have with your yoga mat. How respectful are you of this important tool? Do you lay it out carefully? Do you wash it? Do you keep your shoes off it? So your mat is part of the sacred space you create for yourself. And this relationship needs respect and care. Now, if you'd like to try something a little bit different in extended child pose, you might like to take the right hand and place it on the rib cage, the left side of the rib cage. So keep the left arm extending forward. You can have a look if you're not sure. And just breathing into that left side of the rib cage, the left side of the lungs. And then take the right arm forward and left palm onto the right side of the rib cage. How does this side feel? Just noticing what you notice. Strengthening the relationship you have with your breath, your lungs. Good, and then extend the left arm forward. And on our next inhalation, let's come up into cat. Keep the face soft. Exhale, round in the back. Push the back up towards the sky and then sink your buttocks back towards your heels. So long, smooth inhalation. And long, smooth exhalation. Remembering the breath is fuel for our movement. So let the breath be your guide. Every movement is led by the breath. Work at your own pace now. Let's do 2 or 3 more, and then we're going to come up into down face dog pose and hold dog. If that pose isn't fantastic for you this morning, if you're a bit heavy in the head, a bit congested, then you might just prefer to continue working with cat and child.
Otherwise, the next time you inhale up, you're going to tuck your toes and lift into dog. Okay, so our legs might be feeling a little bit stiff and tight here on this cold morning, so feel free to walk it out, bend one leg and then the other. Spread the fingers wide, let your head hang down. And as we hold dog, just noticing the conversation between your body and this pose. And also be aware of the conversation between your mind and this pose. Feel free to come down at any point if you need to, otherwise we'll stay for another 2 or 3 breaths. Make sure you're not tensing the face, the jaws, they're unrelaxed. You might blow the breath out through the mouth. And we'll slowly come down and rest for a moment. And we're going to come up again into dog, or you'll just work with some gentle cat or some other gentler practice. Dog isn't great for you this morning. All right, let's extend the arms forward, come up onto your knees, tuck your toes into dog. And if you'd like to, we're going to add a lateral stretch here. So we'll take the feet just a little wider apart and swivel the feet to the left. So your right big toe is directly behind the left heel, and you're breathing into that left side of the torso. Good, and then let's swivel the feet in the opposite direction. Breathing into the right side of the torso. How does this side feel? Also noticing the relationship between left and right, the body, the brain. And then come back to center and then come down onto your knees and into child. Just rest there for a breath or two. We're going to come up onto all fours, and this time bring the knees together and a little bit of core strength work here. So spread the fingers, middle fingers pointing straight ahead. Your shoulders are directly over your wrists. Then we're just going to see if we can lift the shins off the floor, the knees off the floor, hovering there in the air, and hold and breathe. I'm going to do this a couple of times. So when you've had enough, you'll just gently lower down the shins, the knees, rest for a moment, and then if you'd like to, we'll come into that for a second time. I find when I come into this position, I sort of automatically apply Mula Bandha, our perineal lock, and even a little bit of Uddiyana Bandha. So drawing in and up of the core. Keep the breath flowing. When you've had enough, just lower the knees down and release the wrists. We'll do a little bit of a stretch for our wrists, so turning the palms forward, fingers pointing towards you. Just endeavouring to roll the inner wrists towards the outer wrists. Just a little smile on the face. Deepening the breath. And then
Release, give the hands a little bit of a shake. And we'll have a little bit of a stretch for the ankles and the tops of the feet. So we're starting on our knees, on our shins, and we're going to see if we can rock back and just lift the knees up. And then we can come forward and again rock back. So we'll do this a few times and then we'll see if we can hold. It's quite intense. So let's see how we go. When we're here, we try to roll the shoulders back, keep the heart lifted. So if you'd like to, you can try to hold here and breathe. Face relaxed. And then lower down, and you might just take one leg back, tap, even shake the leg one leg at a time. Good. And then back onto all fours. So we're going to work with a couple of variations of tiger. So again, the knees are together and the shoulders are directly over the wrists. As we breathe in, we're going to draw this right knee in towards the chest. And as we exhale, extend the leg back. Trying not to do too much of a back bend here. So draw the core in towards your spine. Inhale, right knee comes in. And exhale, extend the leg back. Trying to keep the hips square. 3 more. Good, and then lower the right knee down and we'll try the same on the other side. Inhale, left knee to forward. Exhale, extend the leg back, pointing the toes, the hips are square. Inhale. Exhale. So 3 more. Good, and release the knees down. If you need to release the wrist, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll work now with our tiger balance. So on the next inhale, we're going to extend the right leg back and the left arm forward. Exhale, lowering your palm and your knee. And then the other side, right arm, left leg. Again, trying not to do too much of a back bend here. And exhale, lower the palm and the knee. So let's keep going. Left arm, right leg, stretching through the body, fingertip to toe tip. And lower. Right arm, left leg. And lower. Okay, this time we're going to try to hold. Keep the breath flowing, so we're trying to keep the hips level, belly button drawing in towards your spine. And just noticing how the breath responds to this shape we are in. So again, noticing the conversation between your breath and this pose. Good, and then carefully lower your palm and your knee. And let's try the other side. Right arm, left leg. Again, noticing how your breath responds to this shape you are in. Good, and gently release. And let's come back into extended child. Take a breath or two here. Okay, so in a moment we'll come up into dog and have a go at a bit of a stronger flowing sequence which involves plank. Any shoulder or wrist issues, you may not want to do this, so you could work with a bit more cat or variation of tiger. or even come down onto your tummy and work with crocodile, a gentle back bend if you prefer. Otherwise, you can come along with me. So the arms are extended forward. We're going to lift up onto our knees, tuck our toes, come into dog. And from here, we're going to bend the legs. So ideally, the shins are parallel to the floor. Come forward into plank, back into dog. So bending the legs, come forward into plank, back into dog. Bend the legs, forward and back. Okay, pausing there now. If you need to, you can drop the knees down for a moment. Otherwise, we'll reverse direction. So from dog, we're coming straight forward into plank. Bend the legs and back into dog. Straight forward into plank. Bend the legs, back into dog. Into plank and into dog. Good. Now, if you're happy here, you might stay another 2 or 3 breaths. Otherwise, we'll all once again come down, take a rest in child, or if you'd like something a little bit extra, we'll interlace our fingers and come onto the crown of the head. So like down face dog pose, this is a semi-inversion. We're getting a lot of the benefits of doing poses such as headstand or handstand without actually swinging our legs up into the air. When you've had enough, you just lower the hands to the back, sit down, stay down for a couple of breaths, just letting the blood equalize here. And then slowly coming up. We're going to work with a kneeling salute, but it's a stronger one than our regular one. I think most of you will have done it with me. It has dolphin in it. So if you're not sure, you can watch and join in. We might go through 3 rounds of this kneeling salute. So we can either start down here, or if it's better for you, you can be here to begin. Nice tall spine, just softening the shoulders and lengthening up through the crown top. Let's exhale all breath. And then breathing in, take the arms up. And exhale down through the center. Take the hands forward, interlacing them. Elbows are shoulder width apart. Tuck the toes and lifting up into dolphin. Then lowering down and bring your fingers back alongside your toes as you inhale and lift your hips. Looking forward to protect the neck, otherwise we can look up towards the sky if that's okay for the neck. And exhale, sitting down, interlace your fingers, breathe into the heart. And then we come onto the crown of the head. Returning the hands to the back, sitting back down, coming up, and if we can, we lift our knees. And again, so breathing in, exhale, interlacing the fingers, tuck the toes, inhale into dolphin, and lower, slide your fingers back alongside your toes, lift your hips, and lower, interlace your fingers, breathe into the heart, and coming onto the crown of the head. Turn the hands to the back, sit back down, and perhaps lifting the knees. Inhale, exhale.
toes, lifting up and down. Fingers slide back alongside your feet. Lift your hips. Placing the fingers, breathing into the heart and coming onto the crown of the head. Turn the hands to the back, sit back down and lift your knees. And release. Take a breath or two. Might need to re-establish connection with the breath. Long, smooth inhalation, perhaps a little pause, and a long, smooth exhalation, and pausing empty. So I thought we might have a go at doing a little bit of a squat, and then possibly those of you who like to Bakasana, our crane pose and arm balance, quite strong. So you might just prefer to stay in the squat. You can have some support under your heels if you can't get the heels down. It can also be quite nice to do this with your back against a wall. So let's come on up onto the balls of the feet. So you might roll up a blanket or have a bolster under your heels if you need it. Some of you will be able to get your heels down. And if so, we bring the palms together and press the elbows into the inner knees. So we're trying to have the spine as straight as possible here. Face relaxed. So you're welcome to stay here, or we are going to take the hands forward, spread the fingers wide, lifting up, bringing your knees as close to the armpits as you can, and then leaning forward. Now you might just stay here and not even lift a foot off the floor. Just get used to the weight, transference of weight. But if you can, lifting one foot and then the other, perhaps bringing your big toes to touch, breathing. Stay another few breaths if you're happy here. When you've had enough of crane or the squat, we're going to slowly start to straighten the legs. Have your feet at least hip width apart, perhaps even that width. And we hang forward, legs bent or straight here. Just let the head hang. Sighing the breath away. We'll do a little half lift, so fingers onto your shins or fingertips on the mat. And exhale, fold. And again, lift up halfway. And fold. Beautiful stretch for the whole back of the body here. Being aware of the relationship we have with the back of the body. Good. Now from here we're going to transition into chair pose, Utkatasana. So you might walk the feet in a little bit if they're really wide. Bend the legs and inhale, coming to sit in our imaginary chair. Now in the original pose, the arms are above the head, palms facing each other. If this is a bit much for your shoulders, you can hold on to your opposite elbow or even rest your hands on your thighs if you prefer. You might try lifting your toes off the floor. And you might even like to try lifting one foot off the floor, so it becomes a bit of a balance as well. And then swap sides. Good. And then let's slowly come all the way up. Bring your palms together and bring your hands down to the heart.
So we're coming now into Tadasana. We're going to rest one palm on top of the other over the heart. If you feel comfortable closing the eyes, finding your breath. And again, as we stand in this pose, Tadasana, exploring, noticing the relationship you have between your breath and this pose, your body and this pose, your mind and this pose. I think for most of us, we have at least one part of us that we find it difficult to love. Perhaps a part of us that we feel is not perfect, or is that we feel is broken, whether it's physical, something physical, or mental or emotional. So just for a moment, reflecting on some part of you that you find it difficult to accept. Maybe it's a part that you feel is very weak, a very fragile part, a damaged part. And as you focus your attention on that area, you might like to say to yourselves a few times, I accept myself just as I am for who I am. I accept myself just as I am for who I am. I accept myself just as I am for who I am. Let's release the hands down and breathe in. Take the arms overhead, interlace your fingers, turn the palms up. And as we exhale, we're leaning over to the left. Your hands can be shoulder width apart if this is a bit much for your shoulders. Breathe yourself back to center, ground down through the feet, and leaning over to the right. Inhale. And over to the left. This is the swaying palm tree pose. Breathe in. Breathe out, connecting with your suppleness, your flexibility, not just in body, but mind as well. Good. Gently come back to center and release the arms down. Let's take that a little bit further now and work with our regular triangles. So take the legs a little bit wider, turn your left toes around, right toes in. Remembering that this distance between your feet is ideally one of your leg length. So over how long your legs are, ideally that's how much space there is between your feet. That right foot is turned in about a 15-degree angle, and your left heel is in a straight line with the arch of the back foot. This will help with your alignment. So let's breathe in, raise the arms, turn to the left, leaning over, and then take that left hand down. You can press this top hand on your hip, or else this morning we're going to circle this arm around. So making some nice slow circles to help open up that shoulder a little more. If you want to challenge yourself, you're watching your fingertips as you circle that arm around. Good, and then the next time you take that right arm up to the sky, let's hold it there. So ideally your arms are in a straight line, there's little or no weight in that bottom arm. And either looking down towards your left big toe or forward or up towards that right thumb. And breathe. And then bring the head to center. Inhale, come up. You can keep the arms extended if you like, or just lower them down, turning the feet. And then breathing in, leaning over to the right, and exhale, taking the right arm down. Top hand might be on your hip, or else again, we're circling this left arm around. Might feel quite different on this side. Warming up our left shoulder. Perhaps watching your fingers as you circle the arm around. Good, and then the next time you take that left arm up, we're holding. Find your breath. Noticing how the breath responds to this shape that you've created. Where can you feel the breath in the body? Good. Bring the head to center. Inhale, come up. And release the arms. And the legs might give them a bit of shape. All right, legs are going wide again. And we're going to do a little bit of a forward bend and a twist. So again, I think most of you have done this with me, but feel free to have a look if you're not sure. So the outer edges of the feet are parallel. And we're going to breathe the arms out to shoulder height. And then we're going to turn to the right first. So the left hand will go to the shin or the foot, or some of you might be able to reach the outside of the foot on the mat. This right hand can stay on your sacrum, or we can extend the right arm up. Just be careful of your neck. You can keep the neck in, the head in more of a neutral position. Then we come halfway, so a tabletop, and exhale over to the left side. So if it's okay for your neck, you can look up towards the left thumb, otherwise head's in a neutral position. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale over to the right. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale over to the left. Breathe to center. Over to the right. Breathe to center. And to the left. Do two more. Now hold the last one. Should have mentioned that, of course, the legs can be bent. Okay, so this final time coming over to the right, we're going to stay here. Try to keep the hips level. That's a bit of a tricky part to this pose. And connecting with your breath. Good. Come to tabletop and over to the left side. And then let's inhale, slowly come all the way up. Stretch the arms up overhead. And bring your hands down to the heart. Take a breath. Okay, just one more standing pose. We're going to do Vrikshasana tree pose. So if you're feeling a little bit wobbly this morning, you can be near a wall or a chair. So we start off in Tadasana, finding our inner stability. So feeling very solid, very centered, connected to the earth. So feel the support of the earth here holding you. But at the same time, we're also connected to the heavens above. So you might visualize an invisible cord traveling from the crown all the way up to the heavens. Perhaps even turning the sides of the mouth up slightly. When you feel ready, no rush. The eyes are open. We're gazing at something in front of us to help us with our balance. We shift the weight into the left foot and we pick up the right. So it's either going on top of the foot to the ankle or to the upper thigh. We'll bring the hands into Jana Mudra, index finger and thumb lightly joined, and breathing your arms out to the side. And also reflect on our relationship with the season of autumn, how that impacts us. A time of great change, of letting go, weather's becoming cooler. So as you hold tree pose, you might visualize a beautiful autumn tree, perhaps in your garden or in your neighborhood, in a local park. Good. And then gently lower the arms, release the leg, come back into your beautiful mountain. Again, feel your solidity, your stability, your strength. And shift the weight into the right foot and pick up the left. Gently release the arms, release the leg. One breath in, mountain. So let's come to sit down. Set the legs forward. You might rest with the arms forward for a moment. Okay. So from here we're going to work with Navasana boat just once this morning, and we're going to work with a gentle version, and you might like to take it a bit further. So we're going to have the feet together, And we're going to hold on to our opposite wrist or elbow under the body and just pull the knees in. So we're sitting with a nice tall spine. When you feel ready, you start to lean back and lift one foot up. You might just stay here this morning like this. But if you're able to, both feet are in the air. Flex the feet or point the feet, see what feels right for you this morning. So you can keep a hold of your wrist, your opposite arm under the legs, or some of you might like to free the arms and have your arms alongside your legs with the palms facing each other. Some of you might even like to straighten the legs this morning. Keep trying to squeeze the inner knees towards each other. That's a gentle smile on your lips. And now what's happened to the breath here? So be aware of the relationship between your breath and this pose. We're only doing this once, so when you've had enough, just gently lower your feet and rest with your head forward. Okay, now a couple of options for our next pose, which is a back bend. I thought we might have a go at table. Again, we're just going to do this once and hold as long as you'd like to. So table or Purvottanasana, which is quite a strong back bend. I'll show you if you're not familiar with it. You don't want to do either of those because I know they're quite challenging. You might lie down and work with bridge. So just lifting up into bridge, the feet stepped up close to the buttocks and staying there as long as you feel comfortable. Otherwise, table or Purvottanasana is where we start in Dandasana, like this, with the legs straight, fingers traditionally pointing towards the body, and then we lean back and lift up, looking along the body if there are neck issues, otherwise we can take the head back. So you might choose this pose or bridge or table, which I'm going to do now. So with table, usually the fingers point away from the body, feet at hip width. And when you're ready, you can lift up. And breathe. Feel free to stay another few breaths if you're happy there. Otherwise, you might already be resting with the head forward. You might just take a moment to reflect on your relationship with back bending poses in yoga. In a moment, we're going to work with a forward bend, but they have quite different experiences and they have quite different benefits. So just taking a moment to reflect on your relationship with the back bends, if you like them or not, how you feel when you're in the pose, how you feel when you come out of the pose, and do the same in a moment when we come into a forward bend. Just exploring, being conscious of the effect of doing a forward bend. How does it make you feel? What happens to the breath? What happens to the mind, your emotional self? All right, so I'd like to invite you to choose your favourite forward bend now. It might be child pose. It might be lying on your back with the knees into the chest, Uttanasana. It might be Paschimottanasana with the legs extended or the legs wide. Or an asymmetrical forward bend, like cross-legged, coming forward, or even Janu Shirshasana like this, coming forward. So just choose your favourite. If you're doing an asymmetrical forward bend, hold for 5 breaths on each side and then you'll swap over. So I'm going to do Paschimottanasana. If you have a scarf or a strap close by, you might like to pop that around your feet if you need that little bit of extra support. Legs can be bent or straight. So just coming in when you're ready, you might raise the arms above the head, lengthen up through your spine, feel yourself growing taller here, and then come forward. You might like to close the eyes. So we're staying for about 10 breaths in the forward bend, whether you're doing the 2 sides or just a symmetrical forward fold, you'll just stay for about 10 breaths. When you're ready, slowly come up. And release. Just again taking a moment to notice how you feel after the forward fold. So noticing any little subtle shifts or changes. Quite a different experience to doing back bend. All right, let's work with a twist. Wonumanasana, greeting the earth. So again, we can acknowledge the relationship we have with the earth when we work with this pose. So we're in Dandasana, our foundational seated pose. And then we're going to turn to one side and we're leaning down. It's like we're trying to kiss the earth. So lean down as far as you can. Then you come up and you turn to the other side, lean down. I like to keep the feet flexed, so we try to keep the legs active. So you're just moving from side to side. You can keep this really slow or you can speed it up. Thanking Mother Earth as you gaze down. Good. And when you've finished working evenly to both sides, come back up and let's just sit for a moment. Choose any comfortable seated position. Before we come to lie down for relaxation, we'll work with a few rounds again of that waterfall breath, just to help release any remaining anything within us that we want to let go of. Perfect time with autumn. So remembering, we start by, first of all, make sure we've got a nice tall, straight spine, shoulders are soft, our awareness travels to the base of the spine. And as we inhale, we visualize the breath flowing up the spine, through the back of the neck, the back of the head to the crown, where we pause. And as we exhale, we visualize that water spilling over the front, and then we blow the breath, the waterfall, out through the mouth. Letting that breath energy flow, cascade all around us. So let's do 4 more. So breathing in up the back of the spine, the back, over the back of the head to the crown. Spilling over the top of your head, and blow the breath out through the mouth. 3 more. Finished, gently releasing. And in your own time, without rushing, we'll come to lie down for Shavasana. Popping socks on, perhaps jumpers, gathering a blanket. Make sure that you are nice and cozy and warm, and that you have all the support you need to rest comfortably. Let's begin Shavasana the way we commenced our practice, by exhaling through pursed lips a few times, slowing down the out breath as though you're exhaling through a straw. Feel the weight of your body now, settling into the back of your body, and feeling the back of your body expand effortlessly into the earth beneath you. At the same time, feel the front and sides of your body expanding into the air around you. Let the boundaries of your body melt, so that the lines that separate you and the world around you blur and become less distinct. Allow yourself to take up space. Enjoy the spaciousness inside you and around you. feel the infinite connection you have right now to the world around you. Breathe and watch, feel the waves of breath washing through your entire being. Let your entire body ripple with the waves of breath. Continuing to release tension until you feel wide open like the sky. Becoming thoroughly familiar with what it feels like to be open, relaxed, undefended, peaceful, and still. Stay here. Stay with whatever you are currently experiencing and just keep exhaling. Feel free to stay as you are if you're happy here. Otherwise, I invite you to slowly now start to deepen the breath and become aware once more of where you are, feeling the floor beneath you, aware of the ceiling above and the four walls around you. Listening to sounds both near and far away. And bring a little bit of movement into your fingers and your toes. I'd like to have a bit of a stretch. Do what feels good. And then we'll carefully roll over to one side. Just curl up into a little ball for a moment. Hug your knees in. And you might like to say to yourselves a few times once again, I accept myself just as I am for who I am. I accept myself just as I am for who I am. When you feel ready, without rushing, let's come up to sit. And we'll close with one Om this morning. If you'd like to join with me, bring the hands together at the heart space. And taking a deep breath in. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining with me this morning. Thank you for connecting with me, with each other, with our practice. Lots of love to you all, and see you again soon. Bye.